You're staring at a screen that refuses to light up, feeling a hollow ache that most people would call loneliness. You watch the digital parade of artificial smiles and forced laughter, and you feel like a ghost observing a world you weren't invited to. Society has a label for this silence. It tells you that your isolation is a red flag, a failure of character, or a defect in your soul. They want you to believe that if you aren't part of the herd, you're broken. But at ImperialMindset, we know that the silence isn't a sign of weakness. It's the sound of a superior frequency. What if your inability to fit in isn't a social disability, but a biological shield? What if your circle is small because your spirit is too large for the average room? In evolutionary psychology, the most specialized predators are rarely seen in groups. The sheep need the flock to survive. The lion needs the pride to hunt. But the tiger rules the jungle in absolute solitude. If you've spent your life feeling like a glitch in the social matrix, trying to force a smile that feels like a lie, you aren't crazy. You're evolving. Today, we are stripping away the victim narrative and exposing the 7 rare traits of those who walk alone. These aren't personality flaws. They are the armor of the sovereign mind. By the time this video ends, you'll realize that your solitude is your greatest strategic advantage. This isn't for the faint of heart or those seeking pity. We are here to incinerate your insecurities and show you the power reflected in your own isolation. If you're ready to stop apologizing for your existence, hit the like button right now and subscribe to ImperialMindset. Join the ranks of the self-governed. Trait 1. The curse of the X-ray vision. Most people interact at the surface level. They trade pleasantries like, "How are you?" and "I'm fine," as if they were holy truths. You don't have that luxury. Your mind is a high-speed processor that ignores the script and analyzes the data. You don't hear what people say. You see what they hide. You notice the micro twitch of a lip, the hollow tone of a compliment, and the subtle delay in a response that signals a lie. While others are enjoying the party, you are deconstructing the theater. You see the envy behind the congratulations and the fear behind the confidence. This isn't a choice. It's an instinctive survival mechanism. Because you see the performance so clearly, you find it impossible to join the cast. You refuse to read the lines of a script you know is fake. This makes you a threat to the status quo. People who live on a diet of denial cannot stand someone who carries a mirror. When you enter a room and stay quiet, they don't see shyness. They feel your judgment. They sense that their persona is being dissected. They'll call you intense or arrogant, but what they really mean is that your presence makes them face the parts of themselves they've spent years burying. If you've been exiled from a group, ask yourself, did they push you out because you were difficult, or did they flee because you were the only one who wouldn't clap for their lies? Your isolation is the premium you pay for absolute clarity. You have a biological allergy to the inauthentic. You aren't lonely, you're just unwilling to swallow poison just because it's being served at a dinner party. Trait 2. The rejection of mental noise. In physics, entropy is the inevitable descent into chaos and randomness. Most social interaction is pure entropy. It's a recycling of shallow opinions, celebrity gossip, and complaints about things no one intends to fix. If your friend group is non-existent, it's likely because you possess a high need for cognition. This isn't elitism, it's a physiological requirement. For a high-level mind, engaging in small talk is like trying to breathe in a vacuum. It drains your mental battery and spikes your stress levels because your brain is starving for substance. Look at the hierarchy of human connection. While the world is obsessed with the base layers of belonging and gossip, you are chasing the peak of self-actualization and cosmic truth. You want to discuss the mechanics of power and the future of the species and the architecture of the soul. When you try to bring this heavy energy to a casual gathering, the room goes cold. You're met with nervous laughter or a desperate pivot back to something safe. You face a brutal choice: lobotomize your intellect to fit into a shallow conversation, or embrace the silence of the deep end. Most people choose the lobotomy because they fear their own thoughts. You chose the silence. This isn't pride, it's resource management. You realize that your focus is a finite currency, and spending it on social noise is a form of poverty. You crave the 4 a.m. dialogue that changes the way you see reality. Since 99% of people are terrified to look beneath the surface, 99% of people are fundamentally incompatible with you. You are an ocean-dwelling creature in a world of puddles. And stop apologizing for your depth. The deep sea doesn't say sorry to the shore just because the swimmers are afraid of the dark. Trait 3. The sovereignty reflex. Let's look at the darker side of independence. In the eyes of the system, a refusal to obey is a disorder. But for the architect of their own life, it is the highest form of health. Most social circles are actually micro-cults. They demand a tax of conformity. You must hate who they hate, believe what they believe, and show up when they call. This is the herd instinct, the ancient drive to belong to the group at the cost of the self. Psychological experiments, like the Ash study, show that the majority of people will deny their own eyes just to agree with a crowd. You are part of the 25% who cannot be broken. When a group demands your submission, and your brain recognizes it as a threat, not an invitation, you don't feel safe in the herd. You feel hunted. You cannot respect someone just because they have a title or a following. You demand logic, integrity, and proof. This makes you toxic to narcissists and control freaks. These people don't want friends. They want an audience. They want followers who nod in unison. Because you ask why instead of how high, you're cast out as an outsider. They try to use exile as a punishment, hoping the sting of being alone will make you beg for re-entry. But they don't understand your nature. You don't beg. You use the exile to build your own kingdom. This inability to be a sheep is the reason for your solitude, but it is also the source of your freedom. While they are chained to the opinions of fools, you are the master of your own path. Trait 4. The builder's tunnel vision. While the average person views time as something to be killed or passed, you view it as raw material. Most people use their social lives to distract themselves from the fact that they are standing still. You are possessed by a vision of what you are meant to build, a business, a philosophy, or a legacy. This is the architect trait. There is a physiological reality to greatness. It requires a monomaniacal focus that social life cannot survive. Your brain cannot operate in deep flow and social mode at the same time. One is about execution, the other is about maintenance. History's greatest outliers didn't have active social calendars. They had workshops and libraries. Tesla and Newton weren't lonely, they were busy. And you've realized that every hour spent listening to someone's trivial drama is an hour stolen from your future empire. So you started saying no. You stopped responding to the, "Hey, are you coming?" texts, and eventually the phone stopped ringing. Good. The filtration system is working. You have cleared the construction site so you can actually start the work. People will take your focus personally. They will call you self-absorbed or stuck up. The truth is, you don't think you're better than them. You just know your time has an expiration date. You're playing a high-stakes game with your attention. If you're friendless right now, it's likely because you're in a metamorphosis phase. Like a caterpillar in a cocoon, you're undergoing a total internal reconstruction. There is no room for guests in a cocoon. It is a place of darkness and destruction before the birth of something new. If you are in this season, don't let the world pull you out before you're ready. Stay in the shadow. Do the work. The people you lose during your building phase were never meant to see the top floor of your skyscraper anyway. Take a breath and be honest. Does this feel like coping? That's the voice of the herd in your head. Yes, humans need connection, but you are starving for a feast in a world that only serves appetizers. You don't need more people, you need your people. If you are in the top 1% of ambition or awareness, the math is against you. In a room of 100 people, 99 will speak a language you no longer understand. This leads us to trait 5, the mirror effect. This explains why people dislike you before you even speak. Now, have you ever felt an immediate wave of hostility from a stranger? This is shadow projection. When a person who has sold their soul for approval meets someone who is self-contained and quiet, they don't see a person. They see a blank screen. They project their own insecurities and cowardice onto you. You become a living reminder of the courage they lack. Your silence is interpreted as judgment because it forces them to hear their own internal noise. Your independence is an insult to their dependency. They attack you not because you are weak, but because they are trying to break the mirror that shows them their true self. If you have no friends, it's often because you refuse to participate in social codependency. Most friendships are just mutual defense packs for the ego. I'll lie to you if you lie to me. You don't sign the contract. When someone plays the victim, you don't offer pity, you offer a solution. You break the script. And in a world of actors, the person who breaks character is the villain. Accept the role. Being the villain in a loser's story is a badge of honor. It means you are still connected to reality. You aren't unlikable, you are undeniable. Trait 6, future sight. Most people live in a state of instant gratification. They are slaves to the next dopamine hit. You, however, are trapped in the future. You see the long-term consequences of today's habits, while everyone else is still focused on the weekend. This is temporal displacement. You see the cliff that the herd is running toward miles before they do. When your peers tell you to just live in the moment, your brain screams because you know that the moment is the foundation for the next decade. You are speaking a language of cause and effect in a world of vibes. How can you connect with someone who is stressed over office gossip when you are calculating the collapse of an industry or the trajectory of your soul? It's like a strategist trying to play a serious game with someone who just wants to throw the pieces. This creates the watchman's isolation. You're on the tower, watching the horizon while the city below sleeps. They call you a pessimist until the storm hits, and then they come to you for shelter. But by then, you've realized you can't save people who enjoy being blind. You've chosen to walk toward the future, even if it means leaving the past and everyone in it behind. You aren't antisocial, you're just calibrated to a different timeline. Trait 7, the internal combustion engine. Most people are external engines. They need the fuel of compliments, likes, and social status to keep moving. If you take away their audience, they stall. They lose their sense of self. You are a nuclear engine. Your energy is self-generated. In psychology, this is the autotelic personality, someone who finds the reward in the act itself, not the applause. You don't build to be seen. You build because you are an architect. You don't seek truth to be right. You seek it to be free. This makes you immune to the system's greatest weapon, social exclusion. How do they control a man who doesn't mind being alone? They can't. If the threat of no one will like you doesn't work, they have no leverage. You are a ghost in their power structure. People fear you because they can't buy you with attention or punish you with silence. You are a self-sustaining ecosystem in a world of parasites. They hate you because your independence proves that their chains are optional. Combine these traits, and what do you see? It isn't a loner. It's an imperial mindset. It's the psychology of someone who has refused to be domesticated. The world is a feedlot designed to produce compliant, dependent consumers. You failed the audition. You rejected the programming. Because you wouldn't wear the collar, you were chased into the woods. Now you're looking back at the village lights, wondering why you don't belong. Stop looking back. You don't belong in a house built for sheep. If this message hit home, leave a comment below and tell us which of these traits has cost you the most. But beware, solitude is a double-edged sword. If you stay in the cave too long, the mind can turn on itself. You might start believing their lies, that you're just weird or broken. You might be tempted to lower your standards just to feel included. You might try to shrink yourself to fit back into the village. Don't do it. That is spiritual suicide. A wolf who pretends to be a sheep doesn't find friends. He just finds a slow death by starvation. If you lower your vibration to match the noise, you won't find connection. You'll find interference. The loneliness of wearing a mask is 1,000 times more painful than the loneliness of the summit. The solution is to turn your solitude into a laboratory. And this is your refining fire. The universe has cleared your life of distractions so you can finally see who you are without the noise of other people's opinions. Use this time. Step 1. Total acceptance of your standards. If the world doesn't offer what you need, you wait. You do not eat trash just because the kitchen is closed. Hold the line. One real ally is worth 1,000,000 acquaintances. Step 2. Become the beacon. Stop chasing people and start building the things that make you undeniable. When you reach a certain level of excellence, the other 1% will find you. Step 3. Master the disguise. Until your tribe arrives, learn to move through the village undetected. Use small talk as a tool, not a lifestyle. Be polite, be professional, but keep your inner world under lock and key. Don't cast your pearls before swine. Protect your energy by hiding your power. This path is grueling. It isn't about happiness. It's about sovereignty. Happiness is cheap. Meaning is earned. Most people die as strangers to themselves, surrounded by people who don't actually know them. You might walk alone, but when you look in the mirror, you'll see a king, not a reflection. You own your mind. You own your soul. Solitude is the price of admission for freedom. Honor the empty chair. Honor the silence. It is in that silence that the most important work of your life is being done. You aren't lonely. You're just early. If you've made it this far, you are part of the 1%. Make sure to subscribe and leave a comment to let the algorithm know the outliers are rising. This is Imperial Mindset. Stay sovereign.